good that he could get away, finally get over. What are we talking about? Well, I think it was I was talking about change while we're off here, Daniel, and the rate of change and keeping up with change, and how do you prepare people for change when something says
Yeah,
updated shortly?
yeah, it is. I think one thing that I learned, not learned is the wrong word. One thing that I think came, reminded me, I guess is the way to put it, is the need to keep up with those changes after things have changed. What is that? How do you do that? How do you
Mm,
make that well? Um, I'm actually looking at the YouTube stream, and my video is junk.
it is. How about that? Not really much of an improvement. In fact, uh, I don't know if I'm
Go
even
on and
moving.
off. You
Yeah,
are
I'd flick it
moving.
on and off.
I
Uh,
just did.
I could do that. Source
I did.
off,
That'll
source
work.
back on. Here's hoping that improves things.
Yeah.
It's a good thing we have this space to be able to figure that out.
Yeah.
Off.
I don't know what's going on.
There you go. Looking better. Oh, just in time too. Rolling. Do you remember those days where we used to have technical difficulties that um, would sort of run us into 2 or 3 minutes over go live time, and I'd be floundering, restarting my computer, and yeah.
You mean like 2 weeks ago? Um,
Oh,
no, that was right before though. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 237 of the Microsoft 365 Message Center Show Change Agents. I feel like
thanks, champ.
we should have jackets, and with a nice change agent, logo, and
Yeah, and badges. I mean, because you're
yes,
the land of
badges.
badges, right? And
We don't need
yeah,
no stinking badges.
no.
So today thanks for everyone for allowing us to take a little bit of time off last week, extend the holiday. But today we have some interesting updates. I'm really liking one of the SharePoint updates that we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, before we do any of that kind of stuff, make sure you're following us on all the socials, 365 MCS. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. I'm going to do it right now live. Boom. Hit the thumbs up on YouTube or LinkedIn or an audio podcast. Hit a like. Make sure you are following us and subscribe to us on the podcast. That would be wonderful. And we'll appreciate it. And thank you for it. Now, we'll take a moment of thanks.
We'll just deliver quality in our
That's right.
delivery. Yeah, yeah.
We will
That's
do
it.
that.
Look at all our friends that are joining us live again. It is pretty cool, isn't it, that we can do these things
Yes.
live and have a chat and bring comments on the screen and questions and stuff. We actually enjoyed that last time. It was Jimena who had a question, and we brought that on screen and have a discussion about it. So, do drop in your questions or your comments about the things that we discuss. And one that we sort of want to start off with, Daniel. Well, let me put it this way. Last week, we didn't manage to pull off the show. We were going to record, and we had some recording issues. So we've saved up some of the messages from the week before. I just had to say
Yes.
that.
Yes, so Sandy and Joanne and Heidi and
Fina,
Shafina, thank you so much for being here. I agree with you. It is so nice to see friendly faces in the chat. And if you're listening and you're not part of the live chat, join us. We're live every Monday and / Tuesday, depending on where you are in the world.
yeah.
So let's jump into it.
Yeah.
Darrell, let's talk about this new amazing information architecture that OneDrive has
For
in
OneDrive iOS only.
iOS.
Yeah, we kind of pulled this apart, and then the recording didn't work, but it's interesting. This is MC357317. A good message really about changes in OneDrive for iOS, but don't worry, don't panic. It is not a change in information architecture. There are not new ways of tagging content or organizing it. It is more about surfacing great features that are probably just tucked away that you don't really use much within OneDrive for iOS. It has been updated since, really just around the delivery, but it's a message that was also letting us know this has already started to roll out. It started rolling out early March. So what are we looking at? I do want to blow this up a bit, even though it wasn't a great image, Daniel. So we'll try and, wow. It's like in witness protection, isn't it? It's
nice
just
and blurry.
difficult to see. Yeah. Over on the left, I will describe to you and for the podcast listeners, we have a before state where you have OneDrive, and if you wanted to get to anything interesting while you had a document open or you're working with a file, you would tap the three dots, the more button, the ellipsis button, and whatever you want to call it. And it would come down with a menu of all sorts of things like print and available and offline and open in another app. And what the new state of iOS OneDrive will be is some of those features will be available along the bottom as a toolbar, and you can swipe that up like a tray and you'll see more options for that particular file that you're working with. And it will vary depending on the file. But Daniel, you called it out last time we did the recording. This feels familiar, doesn't it?
It does. A lot of apps, mobile apps, are now doing this, moving their navigation to the bottom, because when you're holding your phone, it's a little bit easier to get that thumb down there to swipe up and get that information. Now, I think the trick will be, right, Darrell, is if everything is moving its navigation, if everything is moving its functionality and actions down there, then will they get in the way of, iOS even actions down there?
Yeah. Well, I quite like them down there. And I mean, the feature has arrived. I just wanted to also call out to some of the different scenarios that they did have a nice table here. Let's make this a bit easier to see. Where you might be working on a Office document, a PDF, an image, and it will have some of those different choices based on the file that you're working with. I think it is going to be helpful to see that option. But yeah, you might want to notify your users about this thing that has already arrived. If it has not, then it will be by the end of May. Like it, don't like it, let them know. And I expect to see something similar coming to OneDrive for Android as well. Daniel,
you know what you could do
tell me.
To find out if people liked it or love it? You can have them fill out a form, maybe even starting with a template.
Yeah, why not? Tell us about it.
So the next one is forms. Enable templates for commercial users, MC358532. And this is Microsoft giving us templates to start off with when we're creating forms in Microsoft Forms. And in the title, it talks about commercial users. That's trying to differentiate this between the plans that are EDU, so education plans, versus all others. So begin rolling this out in late April, so in about now-ish, in the next week. Expected to be completed by late May. You'll be able to see these templates that Microsoft is providing. And when you go in to create a new one, you'll see these various forms. So event surveys is one. Being able to get research surveys is another template. The well-being and getting general feedback from your employees. And then basically how a template to gather information about business processes. And I think this is a good improvement. I like having these templates and the idea of getting a starting point. Again, this is just going to be a starting point. You can modify these as you see fit. The education group, those with an education tenant, are going to have templates, but they're going to be tailored to you for interaction with students and teachers and parents. So no information or nothing needs to be done, as far as action here, except maybe in education. It'd probably be nice after it's rolled out to, show your users how they could use this to fit in with your way of creating forms and doing surveys in your organization. Darrell, you like templates? I personally do, but do you like this idea of them providing us templates?
I just think it's good that it's looking similar to every other thing that we use within the Office experience. Like, go to Word, you'll see templates along the top and your most recent forms. Various other different documents as well. So good approach. I actually don't really use forms a lot, but I imagine this would be an improvement.
Cool.
Daniel.
So,
well, yeah.
I was going to say, what would be an improvement is less prompts from Microsoft.
Yeah. Like even like you might notice this, everyone who does go to the Message Center occasionally. This puppy here, help and support, is open, loud and clear, covering over the content every time. What, am I being grumpy old men this morning? No, we're not.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on with the next one. This I will celebrate once it's in place. Temporarily disable Viva Connections first run experience in the desktop experience. I just thought I'd throw it in there for a third time. MC358962. This is, of course, talking about when it says desktop experience, that you are running it from within Microsoft Teams or potentially browser. But either way, I find that this is prompting me and taking me through, hey, this is Viva. You want to go through a tour? Here's a bubble to tell you all about it. This is where you'll find your new home for the intranet. Good. Got that. No, don't tell me next time, but you will. So this currently is a problem, and they are going to do something about it. They're looking to make this change and turn this off and try and retweak it so that we don't get nagged and bothered about the first run experience. Good that it's running for people when they first come in and haven't used Viva or Teams before or whatever, but yeah, it does need to turn off after that first time. Should be taking place mid-April, complete mid-May. They'll come back and fix it. That's all. It's just a short one. You got a short message next too.
Well, speaking of short message, this one is anonymous user support for live captions in Microsoft Teams, MC362756. And this is already rolled out. They apologize. I like it. Microsoft's apologizing for not communicating this change prior. But this is anonymous users being able to go to turn on live captions and see those in meetings. And this is, I think, a really good step in making sure there's equality on calls where people get the same experience, especially the experience of understanding what's going on in the meeting, right? So for those that either have hearing issues or they are having a situation where they can't listen in right now, but they want to know what's going on in the meeting, being able to turn those on, I think, is a good plan. So I was actually just in a meeting this past week, and I had to step away to take a call really briefly, and I know it's bad meeting etiquette, but I had to. And I was able to, see that what's going on and what's being said in the transcript. And it was really nice to kind of keep up to step with what's going on, inside in the meeting itself. So this is coming to anonymous users in Teams, or it is here now.
We apologize. It's here now.
Yes, we apologize for bringing you features.
An improvement to the experience.
Yeah.
And not telling you about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all right. Oh, guess what, Daniel? My favorite. And it's already updated, but that's cool. Loop components in Outlook Mail Preview, MC360766. Microsoft Loop, the experience of being able to shift your collaboration around to different places is going to get a new place to shift to. Currently, we've had Microsoft Loop in Teams chat and Teams conversations and meetings. Loop being a place where you can add a component to a conversation and start to collaborate and co-author. It will now be coming to Outlook Mail. And this means that you can have the same kind of collaborative experience started in an email or even copy a link to a loop. So this is, it says it's been updated. It's going to be coming up, first of all, to current channel preview in early May. Now, there is something interesting about this message, Daniel, and the roadmap item seem to be in a bit of conflict of what's been delivered and when and to where. That there's a new experience coming out for Outlook on the desktop in general, not just Outlook on the web. And they will look the same. Have you seen that?
I have not seen it live. I have seen the showcase of it. And, my initial thoughts was, is that the progressive app? Is that, I'm not saying it is because I haven't played with it, but that's what I saw. I'm like, because we have a progressive app, other types of services are using apps like Microsoft Lists, for instance. You can have that progressive web app and utilize that app on your desktop. So is that what this is? I don't know. I really don't. I'm not trying to be coy here. So that'll be interesting. I love Outlook on the web. That's what I use every day. So yeah, it'll be interesting. And I like seeing these loop components coming. Yeah,
well, it looks like the experiences for Outlook are converging, and that's going to help with features like Microsoft Loop and other web delivered features that will be able to come through. Now, Shafina has pointed out one thing about Loop arriving in Outlook, that it will help with increasing the adoption of Microsoft Loop. At the moment, it's just that silent little not L, it's like a loopy kind of circle thing with a point. How would I describe that? The Loop logo down below the conversation box when you start or reply to a conversation. It's going to be the same kind of experience with an email. But it's probably going to be able to reach more people in the email. Now, last thing I'll say about this too, I expect it will only still work for people internally. So you'll see that little Loop logo, and it'll only work as you're sharing and collaborating on Loop content between people. Joanne has a good question there. Where will Loop components be stored? I still expect that they'll be stored in OneDrive at this stage, particularly for Outlook, right? It's you creating a loop from your experience, and you're sharing it with people. We know that Loop will eventually also be available in a Microsoft team, and that file will be stored there. But lots to talk about there. Small plug there for the Minnesota user group.
Workshop day?
Workshop days, yeah. I've got a 90-minute session on Loop there, so take a look at that. Check it out.
That's Friday for us in this part of the world. That's Friday.
Yeah. Yep. So that's on its way. What I was going to say is that it's coming out to current preview for desktop, but it's also coming to Outlook on the web as well. And should be arriving in general availability beginning of June.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So this is the one I'm a bit excited about. It's again another templates message, but this is about SharePoint. So section templates now available in SharePoint Pages MC361 749, and this will be rolling out late April, so now-ish in the next week or so, to targeted release, expected to end early May, and then standard mid-May through late May. So this is when you're doing a section on a SharePoint page, there will be templates available for you to utilize so that you can do things like creating adding images so they're all aligned and they work really well, for instance, in that section. And in fact, when you put them on there, once those elements are on there, you can, there will be framed up in the correct spacing and everything. So one image is not bigger than the other, for instance, in the 3x. And of course, can remove stuff. It's a template, so it's not restricting you into how you can build these, but you can have the ability to get a good start. So if you're, I have been really creating a lot of templates actually in PowerPoint here recently, and it has the same kind of concept, right? Where a starting point for how you want to visually represent content for your users. So being able to not just have section, say I want a 3-column section or 2-column section or whatever, I can have this template where it'll start off. Number one, I don't see any sort of ability to customize these. So maybe in the future if people ask. And the second thing is I don't see a way to add new ones, which is kind of in the same vein of customization, but adding new ones for your organization, for instance. Being able to specify, I talk to a lot of organizations that kind of want some familiarity with their pages, meaning they kind of look or feel similar. They don't have to be the same, but have some similar qualities. So that'll be interesting to see if this will help with that.
Certainly image centric. The placeholders are just for images. I imagine that there'd also be other web parts you might want to put there with text below it.
Indeed. And I'm glad to see that Heidi is excited about this, because I am too. She's more excited than she was for collapsible sections, which rightly so, I feel like. But I'm glad someone else is excited about this too. It'll be interesting to see where they go, if anywhere, with this. Like I said, around customization or creating your own to provide for within your organization. So
good call. Lastly, Daniel, this one, admittedly, it's not a feature I have used frequently. I did try it out when it came out.
I do.
But did you know that you can feed a audio file to Word? Did I select this? Unlimited audio. There it is. Found it.
Yeah.
Wake up, Darrell. Unlimited audio minutes for web transcription in Microsoft Word. You can feed a audio file to Word and it will transcribe it for you.
Indeed.
MC362278. Up until recently, there was a limit of 300 minutes per user per month. And now they're changing that to unlimited minutes of live recordings. Now available. All right. So it's something that you can go and do right now if you wanted to. I think it's trying to fill a gap where there are some services out there that will do this for you, and then you can take the transcript or the words and put it into other things. But it makes sense to have it built into Word as long as it does a good job. But yeah, we talked earlier about a message and anonymous transcription, and to me, it's interesting that on one sense we allow transcription, which is turning our words into our audio into words that we can read, and we were limiting that feature for Word. So I can see the two are kind of related. Let's make it free for people who are not part of our tenant. They're anonymous. They come along to a meeting, they get to read, and then we also get to see it for free, no limits in Word.
Yeah, and it's interesting, on this one, you have to request it, and it's in the language here, of how it's going to, if you request access, then it'll be available for everyone. And then they're calling it a preview, although that wasn't mentioned in the title, and it wasn't mentioned anywhere until you get down here, that basically and I have an opinion on what's going on here, but basically it's a preview experience, and they may turn it back on,
Right.
meaning the limit, with a way to purchase more. So the way it's kind of I don't know, I was coming up with an analogy, but it's a way to get you hooked, and then you're hooked, and now they're going to go, oh, well, you're uploading more, so here's our new, premium version. What I think happened, and this is, I'm guessing, okay, educated guess, but guessing, that no one was using it. I've used it a few times, but I feel like maybe it just was a service that wasn't being utilized, and so they're like, let's give it free to everybody. But we don't know if it's going to, Microsoft really don't. You could think of the product team going, wait a minute, if we give it free to everyone and everyone starts using this, other than, they switch from a paid service out there and comes in and starts doing this here on our platform, this could go bonkers, and we could go from a service that's being underutilized to a service that's being overutilized. So we need to have maybe we'll turn it back on, and have a premium service later if it gets used a lot. But I've used it. It was pretty good. You can select if you want to put like speakers, it'll have a speaker on there. Attribution or not. So it has some options. So it is something that I looked into, but there was a limit and it was causing me some issues. But now that you can request to not have a limit, maybe I'll jump back in.
Yeah, well, that brings us to the end of the messages. But thank you all who did join us and have opinions and thoughts about it. That's really what we really enjoy about bringing this to you live and having that kind of engagement. Is it's how we're experiencing it and the stories that we've got to tell that make things quite interesting. And thank you for coming along, Daniel. Remind us again, like, how do we keep in touch?
Well, we're at 365 MCS everywhere: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Insta, everywhere. So
not TikTok
you can keep
yet.
it. Well, we'll fix that. But well, we're going to have those that some of our listeners do some dancing for us on that one. Yep.
Right.
So anyway, follow us. Please share the URL of this audio or video that you're listening to right now. Just go out and share it on your favorite social media platform. Tag us at 365 MCS, and we'll amplify your message and amplify you. So we really appreciate you being here, and hope we were helpful, and hope that we can help in that change going on within the platform for your organization.
See you again next week at 238. Bye for now.
Bye.